Good evening, everyone. It's Miguel here. This is the second part of my end of 2018 video series for my photography. Basically, in the first one, I spent a lot of time recreating 20 of my most iconic photographs, links in the description below. I thought I'd end it off by looking through all the photographs that I took in 2018 and picking my personal top 10 favorite ones and why, in under a minute or so, why they happen to be my personal favorites, because for 2018 I actually ended up taking a lot more than I did in 2017 and 2016, so I thought going into the new year maybe I should kind of see why some of these photos did really well, both with my audience and both personally as well, and why some of these are at the top as compared to the other ones I've taken this year, why I kind of value these ones a little bit more. In about a minute or less I'll talk about why each of these are my favorite. So we'll start with number 10. So this is actually my friend Kaimana, who I had an original concept for something kind of like a Mad Max, like apocalyptic grunge idea, where I kind of just had a gas mask and a baseball bat, and I kind of had him wear a very dark outfit, and I knew a few places, I knew a few abandoned, kind of grungy looking places, and one of those said locations actually had an abandoned car with a trunk that was wide open, and I think out of all the pictures I took that day, this one kind of epitomizes the vision that I was going for. It just looks like this soldier of the wasteland just kind of ruling over this abandoned space, and he looks really cool. I just genuinely really like this photo. Although it is at the bottom of the although it is at the bottom of this list, again, I've taken a lot of photos in 2018, so this is pretty high up there for number 10. So number 9, again, this is another original concept I had where I actually just had a gold masquerade mask, and I called my friend Haley, who I have done previous shoots with before. We found an open field and we kind of went for a morning goddess, like woman in the field, like singing in the morning. Like, looking at this one, like I like to think of it as a redux of a shoot that I did with Haley way back in 2017, I believe, where we shot early morning. So actually really like this shoot, one of my personal favorites. So number 8 is a shoot that I did with Dean, who is a pretty well-known breaker and b-boy here on Maui. I think out of a good amount of the b-boys that I've shot and worked with at public events, I think he is one of the ones that is really good at posing, and so I personally really like this one of him jumping up in the air midway, also just because of the composition and the leading lines. I thought they worked really well. Like, this is just an overall, just a very pretty picture with it converging on him. Also, I really like this one of him, like, kind of doing a handstand kick. Overall, just the composition of these two pictures, they're both pretty similar, but I think I kind of prefer the jumping one a little bit better, just based on personal preference. But just the composition is really great, just the colors really worked. Overall was a very fun shoot, and just the setting worked really well, and I was just very happy with how this one came out. So number 7 is my friend Angel in Walmart. So this one is not a new challenge. I have seen multiple people who have shot in like Target, Walmart, or Housemart, or whatever, where they would go to the flower or craft section and kind of play around with that. Again, I shot this with Angel at 11 o'clock at night. What I didn't expect is how good it would come out. I didn't expect that the fluorescent lighting of Walmart would kind of actually add to the atmosphere if I was able to blur it out a little bit. And so by kind of closing in on Angel's face and kind of focusing in on that and really trying to make the flowers look as natural as possible, I think this is actually one of the most fun shoots I ever did so late at night, and so just really happy with this one. So number 6 is the Virgin Killer sweater series, which my friend Night Darling Cosplay modeled, and this again is a concept that I've had in mind for a pretty long time. A lot of people have done Virgin Killer sweater shoots. I really just wanted to find someone who would be willing to go all the way to kind of sell that, what all these Instagram models have been pulling off with the Virgin Killer sweater, and I think Night Darling was more than able to kill it with these pictures. They're some of my favorites. Like, I honestly, would love to use these for prints. I actually do have these in print quality. I just don't know how to sell them yet. Like, they're some of my personal favorites. Really love how these came out, and they just really, showed off this kind of bright atmosphere, this really this really like sexy but really like light appeal to it. I really like it. Alright, so number 5 is at Unbelievably Blake. When he visited Maui, I actually got to reach out to him, and we only had a little bit of time to shoot in Lahaina, but we actually went out to the beach and then we shot a little bit towards the hotel that he was staying at as well. And this, honestly, I've taken a lot of physique shoots this year, both like in regular swim shorts as well as in Speedos and jock straps and that sort of thing. But this one I just thought both how the background bokeh just came out, just the color of the shorts, like just the whole composition and just how his physique and the pose, just everything really excelled well with this picture. I think the lighting was really well, the composition was really well, the bokeh, just the pose, like I just thought that this picture is just a really good profile shot. This is actually one of the profile shots that I'm the most proud of right now. I'd like to do a little bit more of this going into this year. So number 4 is actually one of my most popular photos on Instagram right now, and it is of Skippy wearing the Wintercroft wolf mask that me and Kaimana made. This is for my Halloween series of photo shoots where I had one male and female kind of have their different takes on like a scary but still kind of sexy Halloween-esque shoot. But I have shot at this location before. This is actually at the top of Queen K's parking lot structure. I have shot here during the day. I've never shot at the top during the night except for this one shoot, and actually I think it came out really well. I wouldn't expect that the overhead lighting would work really well for atmosphere. It really did a lot to kind of highlight his figure in all the right places. It really added shadow and definition to where it needed to. Nothing was too over or underexposed. It just really, I think everything worked out really well. Again, with both the composition, the shadows, just everything was highlighted and shaded where it needed to be, and it just has really good atmosphere. Everyone really just enjoyed seeing this picture. I was getting a lot of good reviews from both friends and both people who I've shot with in the mainland and some of the other islands who really loved this, and I'm just really happy with how this one came out as well. Alright, so now we're on to the top 3, and so for the third one, it was actually one of the hardest ones that I had to capture. I am really glad that I was able to get this, and it is actually of my friend Allison blowing bubbles up in Holy Poly. I have seen similar work done for this by Brandon Wolfel, and I tried to kind of do my take on it by just getting a bubble wand, going up to a place without any wind. I think maybe the hardest part about this was the fact of how far I had to be away from her and how I was able to capture all these bubbles. I think for what it is, I think it's a really good picture. I think this is one of the ones that I think if I were to show people like my top 3 favorite pictures that represent my style, I think this would be one of them. So for number 2 on the list, it is actually of my friend Shaughnessy. We went to the Maui County Fair together, and I have seen similar people use the mirror maze before to kind of do fun photo shoots with all the lights that kind of were with all the lights that are kind of pouring in both from the mirror maze and the other fair rides pouring into the mirror maze as well. I kind of just grabbed a simple prism and I went in there with Shaughnessy, and although I took a bunch of different pictures in there, I think this one has to be my favorite. It was just so colorful. It just really showed off both the mirror maze and just the composition. I think the prism just really helped to add on to more of like the light, the bokeh, and just I think Shaughnessy looks really nice over here. A lot of my best friends actually, told me that when they saw me at the fair, they were wondering what it is that I was doing in the mirror maze with my camera, and they were just so impressed with me being able to create this in such a short span of time, because obviously I can't spend ages in that fair ride. So I'm actually pretty proud with this one. I'm very happy with how it came out. So before we get into which one is my number 1 picture that I took, which one I think is my number 1 picture that I took for 2018, I'm just gonna spend a little bit of time to talk about some few honorable mentions that, although they didn't quite make the list, I think they're still notable enough that I did want to throw them out there because I actually do have a soft spot for these pictures as well. So I have Shannon's badminton picture, which I'm actually just proud of the fact that the Aloha shirt when he jumped was able to perfectly kind of stay there, not wrinkled, and it just came out to be such a sort of campy, really funny pose, and I just really enjoyed doing the shoot with him. I also have 2 shoots that I did with Night Darling. One of them is her 2B cosplay where she was dual wielding. I really liked this picture and it was one of my most popular ones, but the thing specifically about Nier cosplay is it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, and the fact that there's as much cars as there are in the background, there were people that did kind of call me out and say that, like, well, it's supposed to look a little bit more post-apocalyptic, maybe there shouldn't have been as much, life in the background. The second one, for Night Darling's Scarecrow cosplay using the smoke bomb, this was one of the very beginning pictures I took in 2018, and I'm also happy with this one. I could have done a little bit more to cover the smoke bomb to make it look a little bit less fireworky, but, did what I could. Also, her face kind of has really weird shading that I didn't really fix at that time, so could have been better with that one. I took this picture with Dylan at the gym. I actually just really like these pictures of Dylan. They're just really cool, really make his muscles pop because of the filters I used, I just like these pictures. They're really good. Here's a picture of Mahea in a set of purple flowers that we found in Kihei. Although I do really like this, and this is sort of near the top, I just wish maybe I could have had her go out a little bit more so the flowers aren't covering the part of her face, because I do notice that when I look back at this picture that had she possibly been popping out a little bit more and not have the leaves cover part of her face, that maybe it would have looked a little bit better. Here's a set of 3 pictures that I took while I went to Michigan this year. I really like all of these for very specific reasons. I used a prism for all 3 of these. The one for Amanda's was more nature looking, the one for Gabriella's was more based on night lights and street lights in Greektown, and the one for Tiffany was more using the skylight that was in the abandoned graffiti warehouse that we went to. I also really like these, but they just couldn't make the top just because I felt like the other ones did a little bit better for me personally. I also have the Looksy Monster, which, again, by my cosplayer friend Kaimana. This was like the 3rd in the series of my Halloween sets, but I just felt that the other 2 just inched it out a little bit, but it is a really good Halloween costume. The composition worked really well, and just the way that the pose is able to kind of lunge out at you, I think he did a really good job with doing that, but it just couldn't quite make it up there, but it's still an honorable mention. I really like it. And the last one is of my friend Jacob jumping midair in Kaka'aka, which I did try to recreate. This one, I just wish maybe I got it a little bit better in focus and I could have worked on the composition a little bit better, but I'm still really proud of this one because, as you guys could tell, I can't really jump midair, so I give a whole lot of props to someone who can do this and lets me take a picture of it. So, my number 1 top picture of 2018, who could have guessed? It's the one where I actually didn't take it with my DSLR. It is actually the underwater wedding picture that I took for Joshua and Fabienne's wedding. And so I took my GoPro Hero 4 Silver with this one. We actually went out very early in the morning just after the wedding, and what I decided to do was, since I don't, for a few of my other photographer friends who do a lot more surfing and beach and diving photography, they have special gear and equipment that they use to bring their DSLR into the water. Unfortunately, I don't have that because I don't specialize in it, but I did have my GoPro. So what I did is I had to take multiple shots to get both the top half and the bottom half of the picture correct. And eventually this is the finished product. I did have to do a little bit of Photoshop to get them a little bit more even together, but overall I think this is one of my highlights of 2018 that I was super proud of. If there is anything that I could do to improve this picture, I honestly probably would have moved it a little bit more to the right, because I did have them at the very edge of the picture, and that's the only thing that's setting off this picture from being one of my top favorites of all time. It's still up there, but the fact that I put it a little bit too left of the frame still kind of upsets me, because for my style, I try to not use as much negative space and perfectly frame it within the picture, so that way I don't have to, worry about all this negative space that's being unused unless it's for an aesthetic reason. And I kind of just feel like everything that's on the right side of it, that's just kind of empty ocean, is just setting it off for me that, like, I could have done this a little bit better. But of course, like, I did multiple takes. This is the best one that I could do at that time, but I am still really proud of it. For me, it's my number one. For me, it's the number one picture that I took last year. Very proud of it. So yeah, those are my top 10 pictures. I'm proud of how they all came out. I'm proud of working with as much people that I did, who helped create a really good 2018 portfolio, both for myself and for each of the modeling agencies and freelance models that I've worked with, like everyone who's taken time to shout me out on Instagram and Facebook and other social media. I really appreciate it. And I thought I'd take this time also to formally announce my 2019 plans. In 2018, I did a lot of creative projects and collaborations, and I'm going to be putting a bit of a hold on that. And I'm strictly going to be focusing for 2019 on commissions, paid work, whatever's going to be bringing in the money, and I'm also going to take some time to just focus on my side jobs. I have some things planned for 2020 that are pretty big, that are going to be coming up soonish, that I have to start preparing for, and so I kind of have to focus on whatever's going to be bringing in the money. Also, at the end of every year, I usually get some sort of new gear or new lens for my camera that helps me improve the quality of my pictures. I've done that for 2015, 2016, and 2017, but for 2018, this is actually the first year that due to money, I have not been able to get a new lens or get a new camera body. And I think after seeing that I wasn't able to do that, I just realized that I need to kind of focus on really getting to a better financial state, where I just really need to focus on getting better financial stability and getting to a place where I'm able to invest properly in my photography while still having enough to help me survive on the side with just, my rent and my bills and everything. So I'm gonna take this time off from my creative projects. I still do have a few left that I have written on my phone that I'm waiting to find the right time and the right models to do so. But for now, just for everyone that I've worked with in creative collaborations, especially here on Maui, I'm going to be focusing strictly on what's going to get me money. And this has not been an easy decision for me to make, but I feel like this is something that I'm going to have to take. So for those who are models, especially for those on Maui who are models that want to shoot with me, right now I'm just not at a position where I can take free collaborations, where I can just do it without compensation and just, a shout out or that sort of thing. Like right now, there's just a lot of things that I need to do that are going to take money, and that's what I need to focus on. Aside from that, I am planning on going to Kauai this year in September, and I am planning to go back to Oahu for KauaiCon in April. Those are the only 2 trips that I have planned this year. I took a bunch of trips last year, and it did take a toll on me financially, so I'm going to have to limit it to 2, so that way what I have planned in 2020 goes through. So when I do go to Oahu and Kauai, I will still be doing creative collaborations there, but specifically for the demographic of Maui, for people that I've shot with, both for, businesses that I've collaborated with, models, friends, that sort of thing. I'm just going to have to focus on where my money is going and how I'm going to be able to invest in better gear and be able to accomplish my 2020 plans. And to do that, I'm going to have to focus in 2019 more on where my money is going and being able to do commissions that are going to help me achieve that. So I hope you guys understand. But 2018 was one of my most creative years, and I'm so thankful for everyone who took the chance to work with me. All I can really say is, thank you guys so much. 2018 was a really great year for my photography, and going into this 4th year, I can only promise that although I'm not going to do as much creative work this year, I can promise that I will be taking time towards investing into the right camera gear, as well as taking some time to go online and go take some more online classes and learning to retouch photos better and learning more skills of my photography that maybe I didn't know, and maybe exploring new niches. And one of one of the things I want to do this year is also get my work into a published magazine or some sort of physical publication of some kind. So all I can say is thank you everyone for working with me, for sticking around as long as you have. Just, I appreciate it. And it is 4 in the morning, and I'm gonna go get some sleep. So hoping your guys' 2019 goes just as well as I hope it's going to go for me. So